dear listener, we continue giving you a summary of what the Minister of Finance has just said in his budget presentation. In short, he says the total budget for 2016-2017 is going to be pegged at 1.2 trillion kwacha. Well, joining me right here, live from Parliament, is the U.S. Ambassador to Malawi, Virgina. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Well, how can you summarize the whole statement by the Minister for Finance?
I thought it was a good speech and well delivered. The two things that I thought were most important were the emphasis on accountability and the emphasis on breaking the cycle of food insecurity. He talked about the government increasing or intensifying, was the word he used, its campaign against fraud and corruption. I think that's very important. He talked about public financial management reforms really starting to gain traction, and the government accounts, the reconciliation of accounts being current. And he also talked about building walls to protect against drug theft. That was my only dispute. I think that walls don't protect against drug theft. I think that really holding people accountable, holding officials accountable for drug supplies, and bringing them to justice, whether it's by interdiction or taking them to law enforcement, is what's going to stop drug theft.
Well, you say you totally agree with him that probably government should put in place strong measures to curb corruption. Why are you also so passionate about this?
I think, as President Mutharika has said, business can't be done as usual. We need some business unusual to get things going in Malawi. And I think a greater culture of accountability would increase the confidence of investors, both foreign and domestic, of the Malawian public and the development partners.
Well, the minister also said that he is hopeful that at one point or another, development partners like yourself, for example, would come in to support the Malawi government national budget. That's the direct budget support. What's your take on that?
The U.S. government doesn't do budget support anywhere in the world, and we've never done budget support in Malawi. So our programs were unaffected by Cashgate and the suspension of budget support. It doesn't mean that the development partners don't care about development in Malawi. We spend a lot of money in Malawi. The United States in 2015 spent more than $305 million on development work in Malawi. And as the Minister of Finance noted, we've pledged $63 million for humanitarian assistance response to the La Nina and El Nino effects.
Great. Then the other issue that the Minister of Finance also touched on was the issue of taxes. For example, he said probably because of the period in which Malawi is sailing through the economic challenges, the government is going to introduce a number for taxes. For example, standard VAT and other forms of taxes. What's your take on the introduction of these taxes?
We really haven't studied those numbers yet, so I don't have detailed comments. I'm a little worried that VAT taxes are usually regressive, so they affect poor people. So the imposition of additional VAT taxes might have a negative effect on poor people. But I'll have to study that a little more.
The minister also, maybe we should talk about the figure. The figure is jumping from 917 billion kwacha to about 1.2 trillion kwacha. Is this significant? Did you expect this?
What I'm really looking at is, did the government stick to the IMF program? Is it not borrowing so much that it crowds out domestic borrowing and is inflationary? And my understanding is that this budget will help control inflation, so I think that'll be a good thing.
Briefly, if you were, sorry to say this, if you were to be the advisor of the Minister of Finance in as far as the implementation of this budget that is presented today, what would you say?
Again, I didn't talk much about the breaking the cycle, which I think is very, very important, so that we don't have the same conversation year after year about food insecurity. So I think some of the things that he's talking about FISP reform, are very, very important. But I think breaking the cycle isn't only about FISP reform or irrigation or any of those things individually. We have to look at a whole package of things, including policy reforms that encourage investment in agriculture. So for something like that, I would talk about review of the Control of Goods Act, which I think is very important.
Another interesting issue that the minister talked about is he says the government will continue not with its policy not to employ more people today. From now onwards, because the country apparently is sailing through economic challenges. Therefore, it has put a bar, so to say, on the employment of civil servants, except for the 10,500 teachers and also some in the military and also health and agriculture. Do you think this is a good decision?
You know, the international standard is that it should be less than 7% of GDP. So the minister is trying to keep Malawi's wage bill according to the international standards.
Well, anything to say?
Again, it was very interesting to be here. This is the first time I've been to a budget speech. I thought Minister Gondwe did a great job. The development partners stand ready to help the government of Malawi any way we can, and in particular to help the government of Malawi and the Malawian people break the cycle of food insecurity.
Well, thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Well, that was the U.S. Ambassador to Malawi, Virginia Palmer, sharing her thoughts on what the Minister of Finance, Mr. Gudo Gondwe, has just said. Remember, the Minister of Finance has just presented the 2016-2017 national budget, which has been pegged at 1.2 trillion kwacha.